Former NFL star and convicted murderer Aaron Hernandez made headlines throughout his troubled life, whether it was for his touchdowns, sentencing trials, or the severe amount of CTE found in his brain. The spotlight was always on him.
Many questions are still raised about his suicide and the effects CTE had on him. Author James Patterson investigates the story of Hernandez in a 48 Hours special, All-American Murder. Here's a preview.
Watching Aaron Hernandez on the football field was magical.
Could have been one of the greatest NFL players ever.
To me, a great guy, the love of my life, the father of my child.
I'm James Patterson, and I'm the best-selling mystery and suspense writer in the world, but nothing I've ever written compares to the story of Aaron Hernandez.
You hear stories about the fall from grace. Man, this might be one of the most tragic of all time.
Guilty of murder in the first degree.
This has got to be a mistake.
That's not the Aaron that I know.
Aaron Hernandez was a dead man walking because his brain had been so damaged by his playing football.
Oh, I was devastated, completely devastated. My whole world changed. He's all I know.
He had a secret life, and you don't know the half of it yet.
Executive producer of 48 Hours, Susan Zirinsky, joins us now on the set. We don't know the half of it yet, Susan. It felt like this story just went off in all different directions the more we found out about him. And it's true, I feel like even after his death, we really don't know who he was.
Well, I think what's really interesting is James Patterson, who writes novels, decided to take this on. He has not written maybe one other true crime book.
Yeah.
And he decided that this might be the most profoundly disturbing story of any athlete. He even says it's bigger than OJ.
Wow.
And when you really unravel this story, it's profoundly sad. Aaron Hernandez was this magical kid in high school, played football like, it was like a magic to watch. Very close to his brother and his dad, who also was a football player and then became a coach. Very close to his kids. When his father died in high school, the world fell apart for this guy. He started to hang with the wrong kids, and there was this evolution of negative. However, he still was this phenomenal player, but got into drugs, bad guys, and then he signs this, and he marries his high school sweetheart, who Dr. Phil had sat down with, and they've allowed us the use of this amazing interview.
Yeah.
It was the love of her life. They have a child. This should have been the fairy tale story. This should have been great player, a huge contract. He ends up with the New England Patriots. The world should have been just here for him.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is he just can't control himself. And it's one charge after the other. And Urban Meyer, who is a phenomenally well-known coach, who coached him in college, said, this may be the most tragic fall from grace ever. Yeah. He stayed on top of him. There was one story in the book, and actually it's a 48-hour, it's a CBS interview with Urban Meyer, where he says, I used to come in and pray in the morning, and Hernandez came in, and knowing that there was this conflict with this man, he said, can I pray with you? So you had this like really good guy, and then you had this evil seed. But as you know, the world turns around, which is why I think Patterson was attracted to this book.
Well, I'm actually curious because his books are incredible, but as you know, because you deal in reality and in real life, writing fictional novels and coming up with characters and in crazy and complicated situations is very different when you're actually reporting, which is essentially what this is when you're writing a true crime book. What kind of muscle did he have to exercise to get this done?
It was extensive, trust me. And in fact, he's written this book, and we are really focusing. He takes the journey. He's kind of the correspondent, if you will, for this. He went everywhere. He interviewed people. He talked to people, both for the book and also for us. But he had a couple of really strong print reporter investigators. It was like an obsessive-compulsive person's dream when I saw the grid of who they had interviewed and what information and how they were double checking. It's a phenomenal story because sometimes people think they know a story, but the reality is when you put together the pieces of the puzzle, it's just enlightening. And when we were taking this on, I actually said to Patterson, I said, am I going to hate this guy at the end of your book or at the end of our show?
Yeah.
And he said, I don't think so. So this is the really interesting, and of course the brain scans become
the CTE.
a brand new issue.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I can't wait to see this.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to read the book either, because I'm not a big fiction reader, but I love nonfiction, and nonfiction crime is one of my.
I think everybody following this story had a certain sort of perception of who he was, and I think it kept on shifting. In many cases, getting worse and worse and worse. And then after he kills himself, we find out about the CTE thing, and then it throws everything up in the air.
The hospital that was studying them in Boston said it's the worst they've ever seen. And the guy, and there was a movie based on him, who actually was the person who did the CTE scans on football players. His name is Dr. Amalu, and we interview him in this hour. He said Aaron Hernandez was not an evil man. He was a sick man. What made him sick? Football.
The game that he loved.
Here's one really crazy, quirky part of the law, which was when he killed himself, he was in an appeal process. And this obscure law, takes the charge of murder and wipes it. So he is no longer charged with murder because he was in the appeal when he died.
So he's no longer a convicted killer?
That's correct.
Wow. Susan Zirinsky, thank you so much.
One
It sounds
little
fascinating.
footnote to that, Dr. Amalu, the doctor who did incredible work on CT, is from an S-hole country. He's from Nigeria.
Very interesting.
There you go.